Ukraine just hit Moscow with one of the largest drone attacks of the war. Russia says there were multiple civilian casualties. Ukraine says Russia brought this on itself by continuing to bomb Ukrainian cities. But while the media celebrates the strike or condemns it, almost nobody is asking the question that actually matters. What happens next? Does this force Putin toward the negotiating table, or does it give him the excuse he needs to escalate even harder? And for Americans watching our tax dollars continue to pour into this war, we deserve to know one thing. Is there a real plan for peace, or are we just funding escalation with no end in sight? The United States has already poured massive money into Ukraine under the previous administration. On the low end, this estimate's about $175 billion. On the high end is $250 billion. And I believe that the American taxpayer, American voters deserve to know an end game when it's that much of my money going outside of the country. And I have no idea why or when it stops. On the face of this, it looks like a massive success for Ukraine being able to hit Moscow with these missiles from this distance. You can see the target areas here highlighted in red. But what does this do to Putin? Apparently, he's on his way to China to talk to Xi Jinping on the heels of President Trump there. Ukraine hitting downtown Moscow with all of these drones, and you can see that looks like a high rise or it looks like an apartment. Of course, there's going to be some casualties there. But did Ukraine just force Putin did they just back him in a corner? Because these drone strikes on multiple media outlets and stuff like that, are they just to embarrass Putin? Or is this going to prove that Moscow is more vulnerable? And it might give Ukraine leverage temporarily. But I think what this really does, and you can see this refinery in the background here, I believe what this is going to do, it's going to provoke a major response from Russia. And I'm not here to pretend Russia is innocent. Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia has bombed Ukrainian cities for years. But when the drones are now flying near Moscow, the capital city, this goes beyond defending Ukraine. This is now a tactical launch. This is a tactical attack on the capital there. And who is controlling this escalation ladder? If Zelenskyy really wanted peace, is this the way that you get Putin to the negotiating table? The same people that are complaining about the war in Iran, this 29 billion so far, none of those people are saying a damn word about the money that is continuously pouring into this Ukraine-Russian conflict, actual war there. Nobody's saying about that. You can see here 29 billion so far for the conflict in Iran. The U.S. State Department last year approved 322 million in proposed weapons sales. Now that's different. When we're selling something to a country for them to use to defend themselves against an adversary like Russia, to me, that's different than just providing. America's defense strength depends on secure supply chains, and one critical metal is at the center of that fight: tungsten. Tungsten is used in defense, aerospace, munitions, and advanced manufacturing. But America hasn't commercially mined it in years, leaving a major gap that Washington is now working to close. That's where Vault Strategic Mining comes in, trading under NOx in Canada and KNX FF in the U.S. Vault is focused on revitalizing historic tungsten projects in mining-friendly American states, including a flagship project in Nevada's proven tungsten belt. With critical minerals becoming a national priority and tungsten demand rising, Vault is positioning itself in the middle of America's push for domestic supply. To learn more, check out Vault Strategic Mining's latest presentation at the link in the description. And I want to say thanks to Vault Strategic Mining Corp for sponsoring today's video. This is not financial advice. Investing involves your own risk. Please do your own due diligence and research. Let's get back to the video. But you're going to see more of these drone strikes. This is escalating very quickly. The sad part is, you know that Russia, you know that Vladimir Putin is going to respond. And when he does respond, it is not going to be good. Russia last week hit multiple apartment buildings there. They had some casualties in that area. But this is the first time Ukraine has managed to hit a Moscow oil refinery. That is a game changer. That is where Russia will respond. Look at this. This is downtown. This is an overpass just driving through the city. Look at the traffic there. Look at this massive just blaze, just billowing smoke. This is on a Sunday, the same Sunday that the United States we're having a national day of prayer. And if you believe that Vladimir Putin is going to sit idly by and be embarrassed by this, I think you have another thought coming when you see real drones flying around the capital city of Russia. How does the president of the United States get Zelenskyy? How do we get Russia to the table so that something can be done here? We all understand what's happening in Iran. The U.S. designated Iran this state sponsor of terror by enabling something like this. What does this do to our reputation on the world stage? What does this do to the United States relationships with Russia? What does it do to the relationship with Ukraine? You're either all in or you're all out right here. This is a binary choice. When you're seeing these drones just flying around the capital city. Now, this is imagery, or this is FPV footage of a drone launching salvos of missiles at a Russian Black Sea military position around Crimea. At what point do the Russians and the Ukrainians come to the table? What is Zelensky's next move? Showing the Russian people, showing Putin that they can hit Moscow with drones. That's one thing. Doing this while Putin is out of the country. That's another level. After Zelenskyy said that they wouldn't attack them on their national day of military recognition, I thought that would lead to a little bit more negotiating, but Zelenskyy is just basically after more retribution. I'm not saying Russia's innocent. I want to be clear on that. But at this point right now, Ukraine doesn't really look like they want peace. With this level of escalation, does it look like a peace deal is anywhere close? Does this look like anything is being done to get Putin to the table, to get Zelenskyy to the table? They've never sat down and talked. We've had both of them come here to the United States, come to the White House, but I don't think this is doing anything for getting a level of resolution in that area. And I think we need this. We need some kind of resolution. But who is going to tell Zelenskyy to turn down the rhetoric? Who is going to tell Putin to turn down the rhetoric? We're in our own conflict in Iran, trying to open up the Strait of Hormuz, trying to prevent these drone attacks that just happened overnight in the UAE. How does this do anything for peace negotiations for Ukraine? And are we going to see a larger response? Are we going to see a much more powerful answer back from Vladimir Putin? I don't believe he's the kind of guy that wants to be embarrassed on the world stage. I don't believe it's a good idea for Ukraine to try to embarrass Putin on the world stage. Is this a flex by Ukraine? I don't know. But something has to be done to get this resolution out there. Ukraine has been pushing to try to join the United Nations. I think that's a bad idea. Just my personal opinion. When you start dropping footage, when footage like this is coming out on a Sunday, what does it do for Ukraine's reputation to get into the UN? Is that what the UN wants? You can see more footage here of these attacks on some Russian military locations. Love to get your thoughts down below. Is Zelenskyy doing himself any favors? Is Russia going to respond with overwhelming force? We know that they have that capability. They're one of the world's superpowers, one of the world's nuclear powers. What happens next? I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see the response that Russia makes, and you know they're going to. With that being said, thanks for watching. I hope you go check out this video right here where we talk about a device that was placed near a United States city and their water supply. Are we seeing stuff come here to our country? Some of this terror, some of these cells, they're coming here into the United States. Is this a direct response to our actions in Iran? Is it a response to our negotiating with China? Is it a response to our turning the blind eye with Russia? We don't know. Only time will tell. We're going to follow all this closely. See you in the next one.